August 31st, 2003. The New Mexico sun was just beginning to rise over the desert outside Las Cruces. Two men arrived at an old city dump for some early morning target practice. Just another Sunday. But what they found that morning would shatter a family, expose a deadly gap in our justice system, and ultimately change the law in over 30 states across America. Her name was Katie Sepich. She was 22 years old, and she had a secret that would seal her fate on that night. She couldn't scream. Hey everyone, before we dive into today's case, I need to warn you. This one hits different. We're talking about brutal violence, sexual assault, and the kind of tragedy that makes you want to hug your loved ones a little tighter. If you need to step away, I totally get it. There's no shame in that. This is the story of Katie Sepich and how her death became a catalyst for one of the most important changes in criminal justice in the past 2 decades. Las Cruces, New Mexico. Late summer, 2003. It's a college town, the kind of place where everybody knows everybody, where people still leave their doors unlocked, where parents send their kids off to school without a second thought about their safety. But on Labor Day weekend of that year, that small town sense of security would be ripped apart. Catherine J. Sepich, everyone called her Katie, was the oldest of 3 kids. Her parents, Dave and Jan, raised her in Carlsbad, New Mexico, about 75 miles east of Las Cruces. Her younger siblings, AJ and Caroline, looked up to her like she was some kind of superhero. And honestly, she kind of was. Katie was that person, you know the type, the one who walked into a room and just lit it up. Confident, funny, fiercely loyal. She just graduated from New Mexico State University with her business degree. Not bad for a 22-year-old, right? But Katie wasn't done. She just enrolled in grad school to get her MBA. She was going places. To pay the bills, Katie worked as a waitress at a local Mexican restaurant. Her co-workers said she was the kind of person who remembered your usual order, asked about your day, and genuinely cared about the answer. Katie had been dating a guy named Joe Bischoff for about 8 months. Like any relationship, they had their ups and downs. But that Labor Day weekend, Katie was focused on one thing, having a good time with her friends before the semester kicked into high gear. But there was something about Katie that would become tragically important. Something her parents would later reveal to investigators. Katie had an unusual medical condition. Her voice was naturally husky, deeper than most women. But more than that, she physically couldn't scream. Think about that for a second. In her most desperate moment, in absolute terror, fighting for her life, Katie couldn't call out for help. Keep that in mind. Because when we get to what happened that night, you'll understand just how cruel fate can be. Las Cruces in 2003 was your typical college town. Population around 75,000, swelling when school was in session. New Mexico State University was the heartbeat of the city, Aggie's pride, and all that. It was the kind of place where the biggest crime was usually drunk and disorderly conduct, maybe some petty theft. Parents didn't worry when their daughters went out for the night. Why would they? Katie shared a rental house with her roommate, Tracy Waters, just a couple blocks from where the parties usually happened. Close enough to walk home. Safe enough to not think twice about it. That sense of safety, it was about to be shattered. August 30th, 2003. A Saturday night. Labor Day weekend. The last weekend of freedom before grad school started. Katie had no idea that the decisions she'd make that night, simple, ordinary decisions that any of us might make, would cost her everything. What would you have done? If you were 22, celebrating the end of summer with your friends, would you have made different choices? Saturday night, August 30th. Katie, her roommate Tracy, and Katie's boyfriend Joe Bischoff hit the bars in downtown Las Cruces. Just a typical night out, drinks, laughter, dancing. The kind of night that college towns do best. Around midnight, the crew moved to a house party. Nothing crazy, just friends hanging out, celebrating the last weekend before the grind of grad school. But as the night wore on, things started to go south between Katie and Joe. Witnesses said they saw Katie and Joe arguing. The details? Nobody really knows for sure. Relationship stuff, probably. The kind of fights that feel like the end of the world at the time, but usually blow over by morning. Except this time, there wouldn't be a morning. Not for Katie. Around 3 a.m., that weird hour when nothing good ever happens, Katie had enough. She stormed out of the party. She left her purse behind, her phone, her keys, everything. Think about that decision for just a second. We've all been there, right? So mad you just gotta leave, even if it means walking home without your stuff. If Katie had grabbed her keys, if she'd waited just 5 more minutes, if Joe had followed her out, would she still be alive today? What would you have done in that moment? Katie walked home alone, 2 blocks, less than a 10-minute walk. She'd done it 100 times before. At 3 a.m., Las Cruces was quiet. Most people were asleep. A few college kids still partying. And somewhere in that darkness, a predator was hunted. Gabriel Avila, 23 years old, married, a father, a truck driver by trade. That night, he was out trolling the neighborhood looking to score some cocaine while his wife was out of town. And that's when he saw her. According to Avila's later confession, he almost hit Katie with his truck as she walked along the dark road. He claimed he stopped, asked if she was okay, offered her a ride home. Katie refused. Smart girl. Don't take rides from strangers, right? Especially at 3 a.m. So she kept walking, made it all the way home. She even made it to her bedroom window. She was right there, feet from safety. Her roommate's mom was asleep inside the house. If Katie could have just gotten through that window, but Avila didn't just drive away. He circled back, watched her trying to climb through her bedroom window. She'd forgotten her keys, remember? And then he snapped. Katie fought. God, did she fight. She clawed at him, scratching his face, his arms drawing blood, getting his skin under her fingernails, fighting with everything she had. But she couldn't scream. Her attacker didn't know that. But Katie did. Can you even imagine? The terror of fighting for your life and not being able to call for help. Your roommate's mom is right there, asleep inside, 20 feet away, but no one hears you. Avila overpowered her. He dragged her to his truck. He sexually assaulted her. He strangled her to death. But even that wasn't enough for this monster. He threw her body in the bed of his pickup truck, drove out to the old city dump, a desolate landfill site in the desert outside Las Cruces. He dumped her face down in the dirt. Then he doused her body with alcohol and set her on fire. He was trying to destroy the evidence, trying to make Katie disappear. But fire doesn't burn as cleanly as people think. And Gabriel Avila? He just made the biggest mistake of his miserable life. Sunday morning, August 31st, 2003. While Katie's family still thought she was sleeping off a night of partying with friends, 2 target shooters were about to make a discovery that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Around 11 a.m. on August 31st, 2 guys showed up at the Old City dump for some target practice. As one of them lined up a shot, something caught his eye. At first, they thought it was a mannequin, some trash, but as they got closer, they realized they were looking at a human body. Meanwhile, back in Las Cruces, Katie's roommate Tracy was waking up at a friend's house. Katie's boyfriend Joe was there, panicking. He'd been looking for Katie all morning. Where's Katie? Has anyone seen Katie? Tracy tried calling. No answer. She went home. Katie wasn't there. She called hospitals. She called friends. And then she called Katie's parents, Dave and Katie Sepich, back in Carlsbad. 6 words. That's all it took. Have you talked to Katie today? Katie Sepich would later say she had a feeling that morning. Mother's intuition, she called it. An anxious feeling from the moment she woke up. That afternoon, police came to their door. The body found at the dump had been identified. It was Katie. When Dave Sepich went to the morgue to identify his daughter's body, he told reporters later, "I fell to my knees." Can you even imagine? Your oldest child, your daughter, beaten, raped, strangled, burned, thrown away like garbage. Detectives descended on the scene. The autopsy revealed the horrifying truth. Katie had been sexually assaulted, sodomized, and strangled to death. The burns on her body were post-mortem, a desperate attempt to destroy evidence. But here's where the killer made his fatal error. The fire didn't destroy everything. Under Katie's fingernails, forensic techs found skin and blood. She fought back hard enough to scratch her attacker, and she'd gotten his DNA. They also found tire tracks, deep impressions in the soft earth near Katie's body and outside her bedroom window. The killer had driven right up to both locations. 2 pieces of evidence, DNA and tire tracks. That should have been enough to catch this guy, right? The DNA was entered into CODIS, the Combined DNA Index System, the national database. The system would automatically cross-reference that DNA profile against known offenders every single week. Katie's parents were told to wait. Eventually, this guy would mess up again, get arrested, and then they'd have him. What they weren't told, the part that would break their hearts and fuel their mission for years to come. In 2003, in New Mexico and almost every other state, it was illegal to take DNA when someone was arrested. Police could take fingerprints, take a mugshot, book you into jail, but they couldn't take a cheek swab for DNA. They had to wait until you were convicted and sent to prison. Let that sink in. They had the killer's DNA. They just had to wait for him to go to prison before they could match it. Katie Sepich would later testify, "I couldn't believe it. We take fingerprints when someone is arrested. We take mug shots, but we don't take DNA, the most accurate, powerful scientific tool available." But before any of that could matter, investigators had to work the case they had. And the first suspect? Joe Bischoff, Katie's boyfriend. Think about it from the detective's perspective. They had a huge fight at the party. He was the last person to see her alive. He didn't follow her when she stormed out. He knew where she lived. It all added up, didn't it? Police asked everyone at the party to voluntarily give DNA samples. About 30 to 40 people. Almost everyone agreed. Everyone except Joe. Joe left town within days of Katie's murder, went back to his family's place, and when police tried to contact him, he'd lawyered up. Everything had to go through his attorney. To Katie's family and friends, this looked bad, real bad. Joe didn't even come to Katie's funeral. Can you imagine how that looked? Detectives were so convinced Joe was guilty, they even planted a hidden camera at Katie's gravesite. They thought he might show up, overcome with guilt, and confess. But here's the thing about investigations. Sometimes the obvious answer isn't the right one. Eventually, detectives got creative. They obtained Joe's DNA from Katie's bedsheets. They'd been dating for 8 months, so of course his DNA would be there. And when they ran it against the DNA from under Katie's fingernails, no match. Joe Bischoff wasn't the killer. He was just a college kid who'd had a fight with his girlfriend and then lost her forever. So if it wasn't Joe, then who? Months passed, then a year, then 2, then 3. The Sepich family waited. The DNA sat in CODIS, waiting for a match. And somewhere in Las Cruces, a killer walked free. November 13th, 2003. Just 9 weeks after Katie's murder. 2 female college students at New Mexico State called 911, terrified. A man had broken into their apartment, armed with a knife. He'd been watching them through their windows. The women barricaded themselves in the bathroom and stayed on the phone with 911 until police arrived. Officers arrested the intruder before he could hurt them. His name? Gabriel Avila, 24 years old, married, father of a young child, and a violent predator. Avila was charged with aggravated burglary, with a deadly weapon and intent to commit aggravated assault. But remember, in 2003, no DNA sample was taken upon arrest. He was released on bond. And what did Gabriel Avila do with his freedom? He ran, fled to Mexico, disappeared. And Katie's family? They had no idea that the man who murdered their daughter had just been arrested and then let go. In 2005, Avila tried to sneak back into the United States. He was caught, and finally brought back to face those burglary charges. In 2006, he was convicted and sentenced to 9 years in prison. And that's when they finally took his DNA. December 2006, more than 3 years after Katie was murdered, a lab technician runs Gabriel Avila's DNA through Cody's. Match. The DNA under Katie Sepich's fingernails matched Gabriel Avila. Detectives rushed into action. They found the truck Avila had owned in 2003. He'd sold it shortly after Katie's murder. The tires? Perfect match to the tracks found at both crime scenes. And in the center console of that truck, they found something that made the case airtight. A diamond ring. Katie's ring. Not the promise ring Joe had given her. A different ring she'd been wearing that night. This animal had kept a trophy. When confronted with the DNA evidence in the ring, Gabriel Avila broke down. According to his confession, he'd been driving around looking for cocaine when he almost hit Katie. He claimed he stopped to ask if she was okay, offered her a ride. She refused. Smart girl. She kept walking. But Avila didn't let it go. He followed her, watched her try to climb through her window, and then, in his own words, "I just snapped. That's how he describes raping and murdering a 22-year-old woman who'd done nothing to him except exist in his path. According to Avila, Katie put up a little bit of a fight. A little bit? This girl scratched his face raw, clawed his arms, got his skin under her fingernails. She fought like hell, and she did it in complete silence, unable to scream for help that was right there on the other side of that bedroom wall. May 2007, Gabriel Avila pleaded guilty to first-degree murder, rape, kidnapping, and tampering with evidence. He was sentenced to 69 years in prison without the possibility of parole. He's currently serving that sentence at Lea County Correctional Facility in Hobbs, New Mexico. And here's what I want you to remember about Gabriel Avila. This piece of trash had 3 years of freedom he never should have had. For Katie's parents, Dave and Jayanne, the arrest brought some measure of justice. But it couldn't bring Katie back, and it couldn't erase those 3 years of waiting, wondering, hoping. 3 years when Gabriel Avila was free. Free to work, free to live with his family, free to break into those students' apartment. Those 3 years cost taxpayers over $200,000 in investigative costs. But more than that, they cost lives. If Avila's DNA had been taken upon his arrest in November 2003, he would have been linked to Katie's murder immediately. Those 2 college students he terrorized, that wouldn't have happened. And that's when Dave and Katie Sepich made a decision. They could let Katie's death be meaningless, or they could fight to make sure no other family ever had to wait 3 years for justice. They decided to change the law. In 2006, just months after Avila's arrest, the New Mexico State Legislature passed Katie's law. It required DNA samples to be taken upon felony arrest for violent crimes. In 2010, the federal Katie Sepich Enhanced DNA Collection Act passed Congress with overwhelming bipartisan support, 357 to 32 in the House. Today, over 30 states have passed versions of Katie's law. Since Katie's law went into effect, thousands of crimes have been solved faster. Hundreds of cold cases have been cracked. And most importantly, countless people are alive today who might not have been. Katie Sepich couldn't scream that night, but her parents? They've been screaming her name from every Capitol building, every legislative chamber, every law enforcement conference they can find. Katie was 22 years old. She loved Mexican food, making people laugh, and planning for her future. She was someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone's best friend. She was 2 blocks from home, feet from safety. One wrong decision, forgetting her keys, put her in the path of a monster. What would you have done that night? Would you have grabbed your keys, waited for a friend, called a cab? Well, we'll never know. But what we do know is this: Katie's death wasn't in vain. Her legacy is written in every DNA sample taken upon arrest, in every cold case solved, in every victim who survived because a predator was caught before they could kill again. Rest in peace, Katie Sepich. Your voice may have been silenced that night, but your impact? It echoes across this entire nation. If this story affected you, please take a moment to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this video. Katie's story deserves to be told, and her law deserves to be known. If you or someone you know has been affected by sexual assault, please reach out. The National Sexual Assault Hotline is 1-800-656-HOPE. You're not alone. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care of each other out there. And remember, sometimes the smallest choices have the biggest consequences.